First of all, welcome, JB Ghuman Jr. Thank you for being here. I checked out some of your stuff. You have such an incredible style. It's very clean. It has a nice pacing to it. You have a very good mixture. Did you want to become a filmmaker? Like, wh where did this passion first begin?
First of all, thank you. Very nice, brother. That felt really good. Um, excuse me. I don't know. Well, I was one of those like artsy kids. I definitely came out the gate cutting up cardboard, making goggles, like trying to create. I was just very creative, like as a kid. We all are, to be honest with you. But
Mhm.
I knew from the jump I wanted to do installation art. So, they're working on my building. Sorry about the noise.
No
But
problem.
I graduated high school, saved up, moved immediately to New York, Harlem.
Mhm.
Was like, I'm gonna be like a Basquiat, but like installations, doing subway art and stuff like that. And I got scouted to do a Pringles commercial, so random. And then that led to like Urban Outfitters campaigns. And then I did the show on the WB that brought me out to LA. I say that to say that I never really wanted to do any of that. I'm glad I did because it exposed me to cameras and lights. And while I was on the sets, I'm like, oh, this is dope. So I took all that visual stuff and I combined it with my installation art, and then I became a filmmaker, storyteller.
Mhm.
Um, because I would have never known taking my installation art and cameras and sort of like fusing the two. So yeah.
It seems that you dabbled in being an actor every once in a while.
Mhm.
Why is it that you don't do more acting? Because you have pretty awesome roles out there.
Oh, you're so rad. I don't know. It wasn't like I would be on set and I would just be seeing the cameras and the lights and the angles. And I was like, oh, how cool would it be if we did this or that?
Mhm.
And I guess there's no reason you can't do both, right? Because
Mhm.
why not? That's not fair to actors or to filmmakers. So go either way. But I I think as a storyteller, in my heart of hearts, I just sort of see the kind of like blueprint of it. And to be quite honest, there's actors out there that just blow me out of the water. And there's a whole craft, there's a medium to it, there's a feeling you get as an actor. And I just don't necessarily get that feeling.
Mhm.
It's like going again, going again. I mean, it's not as like the final result is so fun, but in real life, practical, application, it's like you sit in your trailer for hours and then you do the scene over and over and from different angles. And it's kind of, excuse my language, like a mind fuck. You're like
Mhm.
crying and then you're laughing. I'm like, this is like a lot. So I think sort of being the architect to the environment works better for me. And I have such a deep appreciation for actors now. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, actors. I can't be more, in awe of them because it's such a journey, man.
Mhm. Since you've done some acting and you've done pretty good at, been pretty good at acting, did that help you become a better director? Because you've done a lot of directing and your pacing is awesome, especially when it comes to
Oh,
music videos. You keep a great rhythm with the music. I'm guessing it also has to do with editing, but you have to capture it to begin with. So, did acting help you become a better director?
um, excuse me. I wouldn't say acting. Well, yes, I mean, of course, yeah,
Mhm.
because I got to see it from a different angle. I got to see it from in front of the lens. And I guess from my experiences, I know what it feels like to that extent. I don't want to be like a narcissist. I don't know how it feels for everybody. But for me, I grasp that feeling, what it means to just sit there and everyone stare at you and break down and reset up and carry that same emotion. It's almost like carrying an ice cube through the desert. You have to do it
Mhm.
again from the left, from the top, from the front. It's like, geez. But to be honest, dude, like I would say dancing, like break dancing.
Mhm.
I've been a b-boy my whole life. And like I would say being a breakdancer as a kid shaped my flow the most
Mhm.
because to me, editing, I edit all my own stuff, is kind of like dancing. As you said,
Mhm.
there's like a flow to it, there's a rhythm to it, there's a kind of like beat bop boo, and that sort of like rhythmic way of moving really translates into my editing hardcore.
Mhm.
So that definitely is probably the biggest thing that shaped my voice as a director.
That's incredible. I've never really thought of dancing or break dancing, especially as a form of keeping beat, but you're right. It really does. So in your youth, what kind of projects helped distinguish your style? Not just, the beatboxing and or the breakdancing, but what were you doing that really cemented that you wanted to be a performer?
You mean like in front of the camera?
No, not just in front of the camera, but just your life in general, whether it was plays, film,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
dancing.
I feel you. What? I mean, I don't know. I guess in two parts, as far as projects, I've always been super like hyped by like Tim Burton and stuff like that. He has his own swag.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm like inspired because obviously if you look at my stuff and you look at Burton's stuff, it's like you're nothing like each other. I'm like, nah, but in the sense that he has his own like touch, you know what I'm saying? And there's this sort of approach to filmmaking. I don't want to be rude because I don't mean it in a bad way. I came
Mm-hmm.
up in the hard knocks. I grew up hella humble,
Mm-hmm.
Riverside, Miami, and then Harlem, New York, and then came to LA, very cliche, like struggling like artist. So it's I didn't have the sort of NYU kind of like
Mm-hmm.
upbringing and like film theory and save the cat books. And by the second act, the lead must tell the audience their goal. Like I'm not, and again, I don't mean that in a mean way. Like there's incredibly people out there and these schools are dope. My nephew wants to be a filmmaker in college. I'm like, go for it. Like that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that to say Tim Burton was an inspiration in that I could do my own thing. Like I didn't necessarily have to sort of fit into a mold. And again, forgive anyone who's hearing me if it's like you're forced into a mold because you
Mm-hmm.
go the sort of classical route into filmmaking. I don't mean it like that. I'm just trying to find the words in that I always felt sort of different outside the loop. I didn't really have the context of like film theory and stuff like that. I just knew how I felt and I knew what I wanted to say. And as I did it growing up, it was definitely outside the box and like air quotes weird. And that can make you feel like it's not going to happen for you or you're not doing the right way. There's a
Mm-hmm.
way to do this. And seeing someone like Burton who's like he's got his own look, his own sound, his own style, and it became his thing. Like now you see something and you're like, that's so Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even Burton. You can do it with anybody. You can do it with a lot of filmmakers who have their own stamp.
Mm-hmm.
So he inspired me in that sense. Baz Luhrmann's another one where it's like you can make, Baz Luhrmann is like Baz Luhrmann.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch Moulin Rouge or if you watch Ridley Scott's Gladiator, they are such different animals. Like Ridley Scott is phenomenal and dope, but he does fit into that sort of more conventional,
Mm-hmm.
big box stuff, which is amazing. Whereas Boz is like, he's got the editing, he produces his soundtracks. Like, no, it's like a whole different, and it's his thing. Like, if you do something like him, you're immediately like, you're so Bob Lerman. So that inspired me to do my own thing. I knew I could do my own voice. I didn't have to really fit into a box. I can just sort of be me. And then otherwise, on a personal level, I knew I always wanted to sort of be an artist. Just like I said, I grew up kind of quiet
Mm-hmm.
outside the circle. I used to play with my action figures, Ninja Turtles, and stuff like that. And I would do these giant storylines with them all spread out in front of me. And then it'd be like bedtime, so I'd be like, freeze. And I would have them like freeze. And then the next day I would pick up the epic saga. I don't know. I've always just sort of been like creative storyteller.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. For you, when creating something short like a music video or something longer, what are the differences for you, and how do you prepare for each of them?
Um, well, like Spork is like the only feature I've done, right? That like I
Mhm.
wrote, directed, edited the whole thing. Oh, they're so loud. I hope you don't hear that.
No.
But okay. So the feature for Spork was definitely different because I had like a full Tilt Boogie budget. Like in the indie world, it's a lot because I had
Hmm.
just under 1 million. It was like 450,000, which is actually nothing, in the actual Matrix, that's like catering budget. But for an indie, bartender DJ, that's fierce. So I had a whole crew for that. I had a lot of prep for that. I had second unit, third unit, like it was a different thing. So prepping for that was more like translating my vision. I feel like that sounds like a
Hmm.
narcissist, but I guess yeah, my vision onto this like massive group of people and going back to the ice cube in the desert, just trying to make sure it doesn't melt. And things like music videos and stuff, it's definitely more intimate. These aren't like this isn't like, Sabrina level video, you know what I'm saying? Like I did a lot of creative stuff. A lot of these bands that I did, I reached out to, being like, yo, I really dig your track. I have my own squad, my own team. I just want to get my voice out there. And this is really sort of making my third eye dilate. So that would be a lot more intimate. And I would sort of write my treatments out as I breakdanced and then execute it pretty independently
Hmm.
and then sort of bring people in.
That's awesome. How often do you get to do a passion project, or how do you choose your projects? Is it something you have to do in order to get to a passion project, or is it just something you always just want to do?
I think it's something I always just want to do. Like I really am still that kid, like in his underoos who like can't afford film school. You know what I mean? Like I'm just, I don't know, like I feel it and then I just sort of make it happen. And if it's my iPhone, then it's my iPhone. If it's software I couldn't afford, then I'm like begging people for like a free code or looking on like
Mhm,
Reddit, for like a 5 day whatever. And then just Googling the hell out of things on YouTube or
mhm,
teaching myself how to like set the arm on fire, whatever I wanted to do. Um, yeah, I basically just sort of chased the white rabbit into the hole.
mhm,
And then sometimes it's been like, well, this went huge. And other times it's like, oh, but if it's in me, I don't want to be cringy, but like if it's in me, I'm gonna get it out.
mhm. Wow, that's awesome. Being a filmmaker like that, how do you keep yourself grounded? How do you keep your mental health healthy?
I don't know. It's funny you ask that because like, and it's in one way, that does ground me, at least for me. I can only speak for me. So, I'm not a druggy cat. No shade to anyone who's like that. I have a lot of friends who microdose and do stuff, magic, blessings. But I'm not shrooming, I'm not doing stuff. I used to be a heavy stoner, and the next day I'm like, wow, this looks horrible. So I was like, it looked so amazing when I was high, but like sober, I'm like, this looks terrible. This looks like garbage. So I'd have to like redo everything. But I've been sober for a long time, and I say that to say that like my art, personally speaking, it does ground me. It's like my way of breathing. I'm not the most social dude. We go through chapters in life. I've been in a pretty reclusive chapter. I think a lot of people have since COVID. I was like that before COVID. Um, I find myself feeling the most, this is like so corny, but I find myself feeling the most myself when I'm sort of in the thick of it with my work, whether it be nose to the screen editing for 12 hours a day. My eyes hurt, I get headaches, I'm tired. Like I'm definitely not as like muscular as I used to be because there's just no time. So in that sense, it's a grind and air quotes, maybe not the healthiest, but on an emotional level, to me, it's very healthy. It's like therapy because that's sort of as a fish where I breathe. But to flip it, I do know after like 6 days, 8 days, 2 weeks, it's like, bro, too much. And then I run and do the most, in my opinion, the most obvious thing to do, which is like run to nature. I'll go sit on the beach, just sit there by myself for hours. I'll go for a hike. I live in LA, so there's like Runyon Canyon, stare at the horizon. Dog, I'll walk to the park and like just put my bare feet on the tree root. And I'm like, oh, like I need to like get away from the cyber cables for a minute.
Mhm.
And I guess that would be my way to sort of be healthy outside of it.
That's awesome. Is there any upcoming projects that you can talk about?
Yeah, I have, well, this film, Passive Power, the VR
Mhm,
one, that I premiered it in the Awareness Film Festival in LA, which was fire because it was at the Regal Live downtown and I got this giant section and it was like this whole sort of installation 4D. It was really dope. And I got to be with the people and it was really, really cool. I ended up winning Best VR, which is super grateful, blessings, humble. And then I just got back yesterday from the Aesthetica Film Festival where I had my UK premiere. And that was fire in London, New York. And then I'm off to Brazil next Tuesday to do it in Sao Paulo and Mix Brazil Film Festival if anyone's out there. But that's that for Passive Power VR. And then after that, I have an animated short film. It's the last thing Pee Wee Herman ever did. So I'm super grateful with Ginger Spice and the Spice Girls. It's like a cartoon. I have a feature film script to go with that short. So I'm hoping Berlin or Sundance. I've already submitted it. I get some fierce premiere in one of the big five, and that helps pop off the feature script.
mhm.
And then I have another VR film with Kelly Osbourne that I already shot. And I have to edit it and get that into Cannes next year.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on all that. VR is very difficult, so I would want to check that stuff out. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh no, blessings. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. I'll send you like a private link or something.